But let's talk about another team out west, and that's the San Francisco 49ers, who really, Rob, have one of the most intriguing and interesting situations in the league with their quarterback situation. You got a team that's built to win now, but you're trying to play a young quarterback, and we'll see if he's ready. He didn't look ready after week one. Trey Lance had the lowest completion rate, 46% in the league, had the lowest passer rating, 50 in the league. Now, granted, he was playing in a rainstorm, but still. And Steve Young, the Hall of Famer who led the Niners to a Super Bowl, he had some comments recently about Trey Lance. Here he is. Oh, we don't have sound. Okay. Rob G., can you read the quote?
I will read the quote because it was in the San Francisco Chronicle, and he was talking to Mike Silver, who's on the volume now with Colin Cowherd. Here's what Steve Young said. "Let's not dance around the truth. Trey's got a nearly impossible job. How many bodies have been broken trying to do that? Death or glory, right? And it's 95% death. I got to be honest with you. This job has always been a Super Bowl or bust job. Let's admit it. It's a high wire act for anybody. Trey's goal right now is not to hold the team back."
Rob?
Impossible job, I guess, just from the standpoint that it ain't about just making the playoffs. They've already done that. They've been to the Super Bowl within, a couple of years ago. So I understand that standpoint that there's a lot of pressure. It's a unique position to be in. And it's not like it's impossible, Chris, because Kansas City moved away from a very competent quarterback, right? And felt that Patrick Mahomes was that guy. And he could lead them to the next step. So if you make a move like that, not impossible, but you need a guy, and you got to feel confident that he is like a Patrick Mahomes. He's young enough. He's going to make the right plays. You know what I mean? He's explosive. He has all this other stuff that you look for, and he's going to make the throws that Jimmy G can't make. And
I just don't seeing it with Mahomes in practice.
No, right?
So they knew. It's like, this.
We talked about it before with Aaron Rodgers when they gave up on Brett Favre.
Right.
They knew, Chris. Were they rolling the dice?
No, they knew.
They knew. Brett Favre played 3 more years and went to an NFC Championship game with the Vikings. They knew he had more left, but they knew they had somebody, and that is what I don't get, or the feeling I don't have from the 49ers, Chris. That's why this is such a crapshoot. If this was Justin Herbert,
it
wouldn't even be an issue. We wouldn't have this conversation.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think impossible because, Rob, I don't think it's Super Bowl or bust. I think if they make the playoffs and maybe win a game, because they were in the NFC title game last year. So they're not going to be happy with just making the playoffs or even just winning one game. But let's say they get there, win a game, and Trey shows consistent improvement. And by the end of the year, you're like there's no doubt in any of our minds. And I'm not saying he's going to be Justin Herbert or Patrick Mahomes by the end of the year. He might not be that good, but let's say he's answered all of our questions. You hear what I'm saying?
Right.
Like we're like, okay, now this dude he's the future. Okay. If that happens and they get to just the second round and lose, I think they'll be okay in San Francisco. But it is a very tough situation, as you said it, right? Look at the majority of the young quarterbacks who come into the league. The reason we're not ripping or even talking a lot about Trevor Lawrence is because he's on a bad team.
Right.
If he were playing for the Niners, throwing 12 touchdowns and 17 interceptions last year, he'd be a serious conversation, right? Zach Wilson, any of these young guys, they generally go to bad teams. You don't expect them to win.
That's why
it's just all about their development.
Right. Normally top picks go to bad teams. That's the history of it.
And this is unique in that you're trying to develop a young quarterback with a winning team. with a team that could win the Super. Now, they did do it with Mahomes, but to your point, Rob, first of all, he was a 10th pick, not the 3rd pick. And also they knew how great he was. They had seen it for a full year in practice. You heard the stories. Oh, this dude is the truth. Like, it really was no doubt. And Rob, I think I get why they went and got another quarterback. And yes, Jimmy G is limited and he can't, he's not a Pro Bowl type quarterback. But beyond that, Rob, I think it was the injuries. The fact that he just can't stay healthy. Like, I think if he had played 5 seasons in San Francisco and was healthy, first of all, they might have a Super Bowl. The way he, the only 2 full seasons he played there, he got them to the NFC title game. And we talked about it last year. They're a dropped interception away from maybe going to another Super Bowl.
Right. It wasn't like they were out of it totally. They were close to going to a Super Bowl, Chris.
And Rob, Jimmy G, look, we all know he hasn't won one. We all know he's not an all-pro type quarterback. But I believe they could win a Super Bowl with Jimmy G. They were up, 10?
They were up 10 in the fourth quarter.
With 8-9 minutes left in the fourth quarter against Kansas City. And none of us are going to say he, put the team on his back. But to say he doesn't make a difference, like they carried him, why don't they carry whoever replaces him when he doesn't play?
Because it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. There's something about certain guys. He wins, and you could poo-poo it all you want and say it's this or that, but you just said it. They have put other guys in, and it's not the same magic. It doesn't work.
Rob, I don't think that – I think the 49ers would be nuts to be certain on Trey Lance because we just haven't seen enough. And look, he might be all that. He's got the physical tools. I'm giving him some time. But I'm just saying, I've heard people say he is their future. Is he? Maybe. Let's not act like we haven't seen top 3 picks stumble. Sam Darnold was a number 3 pick.
Chris,
happens all the time.
The scrap heap is filled with top picks.
Absolute. Jamarcus Russell.
Right. Was the overall number 1 pick, right?
Yep. Ryan Leaf.
Another one. Can't miss. We heard all these guys. And
Mitch Trubisky was a 2nd pick. Marcus Mariota was a number 2 pick. It's Tua. Now people are questioning Tua.
And they won. And they still don't even feel good about him.
So we don't know what Trey Lance is going to be. And Rob, and you've always kind of pointed out some of Kyle Shanahan's missteps, whether as a head coach or a offensive coordinator for Atlanta when they lost the Super Bowl to Tom Brady and the Patriots. And I think your criticism of Kyle Shanahan comes down to this. He wants to show us
how smart he
is. And Rob, besides the injuries, which we all can agree, they had to go do something at quarterback because Jimmy G just wasn't able to stay healthy. But I also think, Rob, Shanahan felt like, man, I can't use everything in my bag with Jimmy G. And he looked at Trey Lance and said, I can unload the bag
with that guy.
With Trey Lance,
because he has all of these other talents.
Yep.
And he can do like the playbook that I want where Jimmy G can't. And Chris, it's like the television business, and Chris will know what I'm talking about. If you've been around for a while and there's a new producer or somebody comes in and they take over a show, they don't get any credit with you, Chris, because you were already there. You weren't their guy.
Right.
They bring in one of their own guys and they blow up. Then they say, I'm the one who found Chris Broussard, and I'm the one who put him on, and the ratings went through the roof.
Right.
If I just stick with the guys who are already there, I'll never get credit.
Great point.
Right? If you're a coach, it's the same thing. It's like I found this guy. We moved up in the draft, Chris, for this guy. We identified his talent. He took my playbook, ran with it, and we won a Super Bowl. I'm a genius.
Right. You're right. But my thing, Rob, is, and it's the same thing I say about Jerry Jones. First of all, it's not about you. As a coach, it isn't about you. And look, we're all human beings. We all want credit. We all want to utilize all the talents and gifts we have. I'm not going to sit here and act like a coach is a bad guy for wanting people to recognize that, hey, he's a really good coach. He's smart. He knows what he's doing, blah, 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 win awards, all that. But I think the way to get there is to do what is best for your team to win. It's not about you showing off. Because if they would have won one or two of those 2 Super Bowls with Jimmy G, Kyle Shanahan's getting major love.
No doubt about it.
Nobody's saying, oh, he didn't really like you talk at the end of let's say they just run the ball or run out the clock against Kansas City. Instead of, they had Jimmy G throwing it, and some of it, they had to throw. I get it. But Kyle Shanahan would get the credit just for winning. Just like, what are we sitting, Rob? And we're not the only ones. People give Jimmy G credit.
Right.
It's not that he's lit up the stat sheet, but he wins.
Let me say this. I remember I covered a game, Chris, in Detroit. Bill Parcells was coaching the Jets, and they needed to win that game to make the play. Like that was their game. They needed to win against the Lions at the old Pontiac Silverdome. That's how long ago this was. The Jets are down at the 1 or 2 yard line, 1.5 yard line, Chris. First and goal. They just score a touchdown, and essentially they win the game.
Right.
Bill Parcells' first play, Chris, at the 1 yard line is a halfback option where a rookie running back throws a pick in the end zone.
Wow.
That's like, I'm showing you how smart I am.
Right, absolutely.
Am I right?
Absolutely.
Like a rookie guy who you're supposed to know, Chris, if it ain't there, throw it out of bounds. You got 3 more downs. He throws a pick in the end zone. They lose the game, and they don't make the playoffs. I remember watching it.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great example. All right.